Our top story now, the second part of the budget session of Parliament all set to resume its proceedings today after a recess of a little over a month and days after the BJP won the assembly elections in 4 of 5 states, calling it a win of pro-people and development agenda. Aam Aadmi Party leader Bhagwant Mann is expected to formally submit his resignation to the Speaker today. He is all set to be Chief Minister of Punjab. The opposition is planning to counter the government on the challenges faced by Indian students stranded in Ukraine war zone and implications of the Ukraine-Russia war on India. Also, the cut in EPF interest rates, rising unemployment and inflation. With a drop in India's daily COVID cases, Parliament is likely to see fewer restrictions during this session. News of the Congress now, and Sonia Gandhi will remain Congress president, the party said after a 4.5-hour election defeat post-mortem on Sunday. The three Gandhis reportedly offered to sacrifice their post, but the party rejected it. The party also said it would hold a Chintan Shivir or a brainstorming session to focus on the organisational elections after the budget session of Parliament ends. More than 50 leaders participated in this meeting, a number surpassing the combined strength of Congress MLAs and MPs from the 5 states where the elections were held. There are 3 members from the G23 group in the CWC. Those are leaders who have questioned the party leadership. Anand Sharma, Ghulam Nabi Azad and Mukul Vasnik. Sources say Mr. Sharma and Ghulam Nabi Azad made their points openly at the meeting. The party's polls are expected to be held on August 20th.
The recent assembly elections also of 5 states are a cause of serious concern for the Indian National Congress. CWC unanimously reaffirms its faith in the leadership of Srimati Sonia Gandhi and requests the Congress President to lead from the front, address the organizational weakness, effect necessary and comprehensive organizational changes in order to take on the political challenges. And CWC also decided to have a detailed deliberation of the party strategy and way forward in the upcoming elections in 2022, 23 and 24. A Chintan Shivir of the senior leaders will be held immediately after the current parliament session.
देखिए, क्योंकि संगठनात्मक चुनाव इस समय चल रहा है और आदरणीय महासचिव संगठन कई बार बता चुके कि वो 20 अगस्त जो है कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष के चुनाव की तिथि निश्चित है और मैं एक से अधिक बार आपको ये बात कह चुका कि कांग्रेस का हर कार्यकर्ता और हर नेता ये चाहता है कि श्री राहुल गांधी आगे बढ़कर कांग्रेस का नेतृत्व करें, पर कांग्रेस का संगठनात्मक चुनाव है, संगठनात्मक चुनाव के माध्यम से ही अगले कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष का निर्णय होगा.
Now, NDTV had reported on Saturday that the Gandhis, that's Sonia, Priyanka and Rahul Gandhi, would all offer to resign during the CWC meeting. This triggered a denial from the party on Saturday, but on Sunday, senior Congress leader Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary confirmed the news.
नहीं, गांधी फैमिली के बारे में कुछ कहे जाते इसलिए उन्होंने कहा कि अगर आपको लगे कोई हमें सैक्रिफाइस करने में कोई हर्जा नहीं, हम कांग्रेस पार्टी के लिए सब कुछ सैक्रिफाइस कर सकते हैं, ऐसा ही कहा कही कि हम कांग्रेस पार्टी के लिए, कांग्रेस पार्टी की भलाई के लिए सब कुछ सैक्रिफाइस कर सकती है, अगर आपको ये लगे तो कोई हमें कोई परवाह नहीं. तो सब मिलकर हमें कहे नहीं ये कोई बात ही नहीं है.
Let's now get to the latest on Russia's invasion of Ukraine and it's day 19 of the invasion. Here are the top developments. Ukrainian President Zelensky has said on Sunday that the main task of his delegation at talks with their Russian counterparts was to arrange a meeting between himself and Russian President Vladimir Putin. He also renewed his plea to NATO to impose a no-fly zone one day after a devastating missile attack killed dozens. Russian airstrikes hit a large military base near the western city of Lviv, which is close to the Polish border, killing 35 people and leaving more than 130 in hospital. Ukrainian authorities are also working to open evacuation routes for civilians from affected areas.
І зараз я повторюю знову, якщо ви не закриєте наше небо, то це лише питання часу, коли російські ракети впадуть вже на вашу територію, на територію НАТО, на домівки громадян країн НАТО. Щоденно у відеоформаті говорять представники наших делегацій наших країн. У нашої делегації завдання чітке – зробити усе, щоб відбулася зустріч президентів, зустріч, яку, я впевнений, очікують люди. Зрозуміло, що це складна історія, тяжкий шлях, але шлях потрібен.
13 марта высокоточным оружием большой дальности нанесен удар по учебным центрам Вооруженных сил Украины в населенном пункте Старичи и на военном полигоне Яворовский. На данных объектах киевским режимом были развернуты пункт подготовки и боевого слаживания иностранных наемников перед отправкой в районы боевых действий против российских военнослужащих, а также база хранения поступающего от зарубежных стран вооружения и военной техники. В результате удара уничтожены до 180 иностранных наемников и крупная партия иностранного вооружения. Уничтожение прибывших на территорию Украины иностранных наемников будет продолжено.
All right, so that was Russia's version of that attack that killed 35. Now, a U.S. journalist working in Ukraine was shot dead in the town of Irpin, which is outside of Kiev. Brent Renaud, who's 50 years old, was a journalist and filmmaker who was working in the region for time. 2 other journalists were also injured and taken to the hospital in this attack. It's the first reported death of a foreign journalist covering the war in Ukraine.
We crossed the first bridge in Irpin. We're going to film other refugees leaving, and we got into a car. Somebody offered to take us to the other bridge, and we crossed a checkpoint, and they start shooting at us. So the driver turned around, and they kept shooting. It's 2 of us. I saw him being shot in the neck, and we got split.
This morning around 10 a.m. Ukrainian time, this happened next to Kiev at Irpin. He was with the filming group trying to film documentary about Ukrainian war, and actually the Russian fascists, they shot him. The New York Times, they confirmed that this person used to work to them in 2015, but now they didn't have any collaboration. So just by accident, this person has had his press card, New York Times.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and his Ukrainian counterpart Dmytro Kuleba discussed during a call on Sunday the diplomatic efforts to stop Russia's invasion of its neighbor. Blinken spoke with the foreign minister about our steadfast support of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity and the ongoing efforts to stop Putin's war of choice. And French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz also had a call with the Russian President Vladimir Putin over the war in Ukraine. And the Russian ministry, in fact, tweeted, Russian government organization and Vladimir Putin had a telephone conversation with Scholz and Macron. The Russian leader cited multiple facts of gross violations of international humanitarian law by the Ukrainian army and police. All right, now moving on to some other news and news from Canada, where 5 Indian students died in an accident involving a van and a tractor trailer near Toronto. 2 other passengers were hospitalized with severe injuries. The Indian High Commission in Canada tweeted, heartbreaking tragedy in Canada. 5 Indian students passed away in an auto accident near Toronto on Saturday. 2 others are in hospital. Deepest condolences to the families. That the team from the ministry is in touch with the friends of the victims for assistance. UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath met Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Delhi yesterday evening, 3 days after he won a second consecutive victory for the party in the state elections, besting Samajwadi Party's Akhilesh Yadav. Met Yogi Adityanath ji. I congratulated him on the historic win in the UP elections in the last 5 years. He has worked tirelessly to fulfill the aspirations of the people. I'm sure that in the years to come, he will take the state to the greater heights of development, is what the Prime Minister tweeted after the meeting that lasted 2 hours. On the agenda, say sources, were the cabinet discussions for the new government in UP. The swearing-in ceremony date was also discussed during this meeting. Former Union Minister Uma Bharti was seen throwing a rock and vandalizing a liquor shop in Bhopal on Sunday. The former Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister has been demanding prohibition in the state and had even announced that she would launch a protest outside liquor shops. However, far from such a move, The Madhya Pradesh government, in fact, announced a new excise policy just 2 days after her deadline, making alcohol cheaper in the state. Chief Minister Shivraj Singh's government reduced the excise duty on foreign liquor by 10 to 13%. Shops have also been allowed to sell foreign and country liquor together. All right, with that, time for us to slip into a short break. Coming up on the other side, former US President Barack Obama has tested positive for COVID. Welcome back. More news from Ukraine, and Russian state media released footage of what it said is a column of Russian military heading towards the Ukrainian capital from the north without providing any exact details. Ukrainian authorities and the media have been reporting increased fighting and gunfire within Kiev in recent days, with satellite images showing a build-up and remaneuvering of the Russian military outside the Ukrainian capital. Elsewhere, the Russian Defense Ministry released footage purporting to show a military unmanned aerial vehicle conducting a reconnaissance operation and strikes destroying a Ukrainian multiple rocket launcher. A video released by Ukrainian Defense Forces showed people in the besieged city of Kherson encircling Russian military vehicles to protest the occupation of their city. Crowds carrying Ukrainian flags could be seen marching among the troops, chanting "Russian soldier, a fascist occupier." Apparent shots could also be heard in the footage shared by Defense Forces. Hundreds gathered in the city's central square in a show of force against the Russian occupiers. Kherson was also marking the anniversary of being liberated from Nazi Germany during World War II on March 13, 1944. Ukrainian soldiers say they're bracing for a larger attack by Russian forces stationed to the north of capital Kiev. The two sides have been engaged in bitter battles in the areas of Irpin and Bucha, both suburbs leading to Kiev. A Ukrainian soldier in Irpin told the Associated Press that Russian forces try to intimidate them by shelling them from time to time. But he insisted that the morale was high. Irpin is now largely empty as most of the people left in recent days following the intense fighting. Still, some residents remain hiding in basements because they can't afford any other accommodation. Opera singers gathered in the center of Lviv in western Ukraine on Sunday to sing the country's national anthem. They stood together on a street in the city center where they sang the anthem in a demonstration of harmony that underlined the mood of national pride. The brief but moving performance took place hours after Russian missiles had pounded a military training base in the Lviv region, killing 35 people in an attack on a facility that has served as a crucial hub for cooperation between Ukraine and the NATO countries. The mayor of Irpin, a town on the outskirts of Kiev, said that around 10,000 residents were still in his town and that 30% of the city was controlled by Russian forces. Earlier on Sunday, a U.S. journalist being treated at a hospital in the Ukrainian capital of Kiev said that he and his U.S. colleague were shot after they were stopped at a checkpoint just after a bridge in Irpin. In fact, the Italian journalist in an interview from hospital before being taken to surgery said the colleague who was with him was hit in the neck and remained on the ground. Smoke could be seen on Sunday still hanging over a food depot north of Kiev a day after it was hit by shelling. Ukrainian Emergency Service said in their statement that there were no victims or injured. Around the capital, major political and strategic target for the invasion, fighting also intensified with overnight shelling in the northwestern suburbs and a missile strike that destroyed a warehouse to the east of the Kiev region. In fact, the police said on its official website that Russian troops opened fire on a car carrying two American journalists, one of whom died. Former U.S. President Barack Obama tested positive for a mild case of COVID. He confirmed on his Twitter account. He tweeted, "I had a scratchy throat for a couple of days, but I'm feeling fine otherwise." He added that his wife, the former First Lady Michelle Obama, has so far tested negative. Michelle and I are grateful to be vaccinated and boosted. With that, time for us to slip into a short break. More news on the other side. Stay with us. Welcome back. Sonia Gandhi will remain Congress president, the party said after a 4.5-hour election defeat post-mortem on Sunday. The three Gandhis reportedly offered to sacrifice their post, but the party rejected it. The party also said it will hold a Chintan Shivir, or a brainstorming session, to focus on the organisational elections after the budget session of Parliament ends. More than 50 leaders participated in the meeting, a number surpassing the combined strength of the Congress's MLAs and MPs from the 5 states where elections were held. There were only 3 members from the G23 group that has spoken out against the party leadership. The 3 members in the CWC are Anand Sharma, Ghulam Nabi Azad and Mukul Vasnik. Our sources said Mr. Sharma and Ghulam Nabi Azad made their points openly at the meeting. The party's polls will be held on the 20th of August.
The recent assembly elections also of 5 states are a cause of serious concern for the Indian National Congress. CWC unanimously reaffirms its faith in the leadership of Srimati Sonia Gandhi and requests the Congress President to lead from the front, address the organizational weakness, effect necessary and comprehensive organizational changes in order to take on the political challenges. And CWC also decided to have a detailed deliberation of the party strategy and way forward in the upcoming elections in 2022, 23 and 24. A Chintan Shivir of the senior leaders will be held immediately after the current parliament session.
देखिए, क्योंकि संगठनात्मक चुनाव इस समय चल रहा है और आदरणीय महासचिव संगठन कई बार बता चुके कि वो 20 अगस्त जो है कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष के चुनाव की तिथि निश्चित है, और मैं एक से अधिक बार आपको ये बात कह चुका कि कांग्रेस का हर कार्यकर्ता और हर नेता ये चाहता है कि श्री राहुल गांधी आगे बढ़कर कांग्रेस का नेतृत्व करें, पर कांग्रेस का संगठनात्मक चुनाव है। संगठनात्मक चुनाव के माध्यम से ही अगले कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष का निर्णय होगा।
Now, NDTV had reported on Saturday that the Gandhis would be offering to resign during this CWC. This triggered a denial from the party. However, on Sunday, after the meeting, the senior Congress leader Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary confirmed the news, and he said Congress interim President Sonia Gandhi said she, along with the family members, are ready to sacrifice for the party, but we all rejected this.
नहीं, गांधी फैमिली के बारे में कुछ कहे जाते, इसलिए उन्होंने कहा कि अगर आपको लगे कोई हमें सैक्रिफाइस करने में कोई हर्जा नहीं, हम कांग्रेस पार्टी के लिए सब कुछ सैक्रिफाइस कर सकते हैं। ऐसा ही कही कि हम कांग्रेस पार्टी के लिए, कांग्रेस पार्टी की भलाई के लिए सब कुछ सैक्रिफाइस कर सकती है। अगर आपको ये लगे तो हमें कोई परवाह नहीं। सब मिलकर हमें कहे नहीं, ये कोई बात ही नहीं है।
Now, Aam Aadmi Party leader Raghav Chadha, speaking to NDTV, said that AAP is the only alternative in the opposition and that the Congress is beyond repair, which is also damaging to the country.
I am nobody to advise the Congress party. I don't think Congress party needs my advice. In fact, those who have been advising Congress party also seem to be frustrated because they don't listen to anybody's advice. I do feel that Congress is now at a position where they are beyond repair. And it is bad for the country, where the principal opposition party today is not in a position to even take up issues of public importance and challenge the government of the day. And therefore, I feel that, in a democracy, it is extremely important that we have a robust as well as a constructive opposition. That space is absolutely vacant. And we can't expect Rahul Gandhi or the Congress party to fill that vacuum simply because Rahul Gandhi is the easiest challenger for Prime Minister Modi. In fact, I think Mr. Modi considers Rahul Gandhi as his asset, because in this fight that one tries to portray of Modi versus Rahul, you always see that Prime Minister Modi has an upper hand, and Rahul Gandhi is in no position to even challenge the Prime Minister, forget put up a fight. So therefore, I think that space is vacant, and it is only and only the Aam Aadmi Party and Mr. Kejriwal today that are in a position to capture that space. And God willing, we will most certainly do that, because at the end of the day, people are the best and the most discernible judges. And the people of Punjab have spoken that, wherever there is this, regular process of oscillation between one party and another, sometimes you have the BJP, then the Congress, and the BJP and the Congress, people are always looking for an alternative. Whenever you present people with an alternative, people choose that alternative. People believe in that alternative. Same thing happened in Delhi. You had a regular BJP versus Congress. The moment AAP arrived as a new kid on the block, people dumped both BJP and Congress and chose AAP. Similarly, in Punjab, it was a regular fight. The daily, every 5 years of musical chairs between Congress and Akali Dal. When AAP presented itself with a viable alternative, with as a viable option, people dumped both these parties. Voters of both these parties dumped their respective parties and chose the Aam Aadmi Party. And therefore, I think there is a huge space that Aam Aadmi Party has now begun to capture and is going to be the principal challenger of the Bharti Janata Party.
It's day 19 of the Ukraine crisis. Let's take a look at the top developments. And Ukrainian President Zelensky said on Sunday that the main task of his delegation at talks with their Russian counterparts was to arrange a meeting between himself and Russian President Vladimir Putin. He also renewed his plea to NATO to impose a no-fly zone a day after devastating missile attack killed dozens. Russian airstrikes hit a large military base near the western city of Lviv, which is close to the Polish border, killing 35 people, leaving more than 130 in hospital. Ukrainian authorities are working to open evacuation routes for civilians from affected areas. Also, India has temporarily moved out its embassy to Poland after the Russian attacks in the western parts of Ukraine.
І зараз я повторюю знову, якщо ви не закриєте наше небо, то це лише питання часу, коли російські ракети впадуть вже на вашу територію, на територію НАТО, на домівки громадян країн НАТО. Щоденно у відеоформаті говорять представники наших делегацій наших країн. У нашої делегації завдання чітке – зробити усе, щоб відбулася зустріч президентів, зустріч, яку, я впевнений, очікують люди. Зрозуміло, що це складна історія, тяжкий шлях, але шлях потрібен.
Now, Russian Defense Ministry spokesperson, however, said of that attack that the Russian strike in Ukraine killed up to 180 foreign mercenaries, as well as a batch of weapons from abroad during that missile attack.
Утром 13 марта высокоточным оружием большой дальности нанесен удар по учебным центрам Вооруженных сил Украины в населенном пункте Старичи и на военном полигоне Яворовский. На данных объектах киевским режимом были развернуты пункт подготовки и боевого слаживания иностранных наемников перед отправкой в районы боевых действий против российских военнослужащих, а также база хранения поступающего от зарубежных стран вооружения и военной техники. В результате удара уничтожены до 180 иностранных наемников и крупная партия иностранного вооружения. Уничтожение прибывших на территорию Украины иностранных наемников будет продолжено.
A U.S. journalist working in Ukraine has been shot dead in the town of Irpin on the outskirts of Kiev. Brent Renaud, who was 50 years old, was a journalist and filmmaker who was working in the region for a time. Two other journalists were injured and taken to hospital. It's the first reported death of a foreign journalist covering the war in Ukraine. Where are you from?
We crossed the first bridge in Irping. We're going to film other refugees leaving, and we got into a car. Somebody offered to take us to the other bridge, and we crossed a checkpoint, and they start shooting at us. So the driver turned around, and they kept shooting. It's two of us. I saw him being shot in the neck, and we got split.
This morning around 10 a.m. Ukrainian time, this happened next to Kiev at Irpin. He was with the filming group trying to film documentary about Ukrainian war, and actually the Russian fascists, they shot him. The New York Times, they confirmed that this person used to work to them in 2015, but now they didn't have any collaboration. So just by accident, this person has had his press card, New York Times.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and his Ukrainian counterpart, Dmytro Kuleba, discussed during a call on Sunday the diplomatic efforts to stop Russia's invasion of its neighbor. Secretary Antony Blinken tweeted, spoke with Foreign Minister about our steadfast support of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity and ongoing efforts to stop Putin's war of choice. Now, Russia tweeted about how there was a conversation between Macron and Israel and Vladimir Putin. Russia government organization and Vladimir Putin had a telephone conversation with Olaf Scholz and Emmanuel Macron. The Russian leader cited multiple facts of gross violations of international humanitarian law by the Ukrainian army and the police. In other news now, news from Canada, where 5 Indian students died in an accident involving a van and a tractor-trailer near Toronto. 2 other passengers were hospitalized. The Indian High Commission in Canada tweeted, heartbreaking tragedy in Canada. 5 Indian students passed away in an auto accident. Also that they were in touch with friends of the victims for assistance. Let's go across to Vikram Chaudhary for more. He joins us from Toronto. And Vikram, what more can you tell us about this accident and these students who were involved?
Morning, Gargi. A very tragic accident indeed. This happened on the 401 highway, which is the busiest highway here in Canada. There were about 7 students who were traveling from Toronto to Montreal on West 401. This happened just outside Toronto, greater area, GTA, which is called... It happened about 40 kilometers west of Toronto early morning on Saturday, and police still haven't laid the charges. They're still investigating, and out of those 7, 5 students died on spot, and they were aged between 21 to 25. A couple of them were studying in Montreal, and then 3 of them were in Toronto area. So apparently what police was trying to say on the weekend, they were traveling west of Toronto. It's still not clear what exactly, why were they traveling, where were they going. Apparently the families have been informed about the accident, and they're trying to ascertain the real reason for this accident. The weather was bad on Saturday morning. It was snowing and slippery conditions. During night time, when when the snow becomes ice, it's black ice, which is called here. When the temperature freezes and the snow converts into ice, and it becomes driving conditions very hazardous. So that could be one of the reasons. But police still haven't clarified what's the reason for this accident. They're still investigating. But very tragic accident indeed. 5 students of Indian origin, they were killed on spot, and 2 they were shifted to the hospital.
All right, Vikram, thanks so much for joining us with those details. Very tragic indeed, with these 5 students killed in this road accident and 2 injured taken to hospital. India's first wholly woman-owned industrial park has come up in Hyderabad, and the Telangana government hopes that it will add to its growth story. Uma Sudhir reports.
It's women all the way at India's first 100% women-owned and run industrial park that has opened over 50 acres at Sultanpur on the outskirts of Hyderabad. Telangana's industry minister urged women to venture into non-traditional emerging technologies.
Celebrate women like Falguni Nair, who's a self-made billionaire today in our country. I would urge some of our Hyderabadi young women also to dream big, start thinking about emerging technologies, start thinking about world-class products coming from Hyderabad. If Hyderabad can, provide 1/3 of vaccines to the world, Hyderabad is the bulk drugs capital of India. We are the pharmaceutical capital of India. We are also the vaccine capital of the world. I would also urge you to start looking at opportunities in aerospace, defense, also start looking at opportunities in healthcare, because I think the next 1 decade is going to belong to the healthcare. Possibly look at opportunities in food processing. Also start looking at opportunities in other emerging technologies. So forge alliances, forge partnerships with the best in the world. Think big, think, truly global. We are more than happy to facilitate another 50 acres or another 100 acres.
The state government has given land at a subsidy of 50% and has also built common infrastructure like roads, electricity, water and sewage lines. Already 25 projects in diverse green industries with a cumulative investment of 250 crore rupees have been grounded here. 6 units are already operational.
The infrastructure provided here by the government of Telangana is excellent and enables us to focus on our core businesses.
The ecosystem is designed to be very supportive for women entrepreneurs and workers.
Women's participation in the manufacturing sector is true contribution to country's economy and GDP. It's a game changer for all women.
Telangana is proud that its GSDP has grown 130% from less than 5 lakh crores to 11.54 lakh crores in the last 7 years and hopes empowering women will further accelerate its growth story. In Hyderabad, Uma Sudhir, NDTV.
All right, in other news now, I love you Punjab, the whole world is discussing you. That's what the Aam Aadmi Party chief Arvind Kejriwal said, thanking the voters of the state for the huge mandate they gave his party. This was during a roadshow which was organized by the Aam Aadmi Party to celebrate its landslide poll victory. He was accompanied by Chief Minister designate Bhagwant Mann.
Show in Amritsar. Punjab Chief Minister designate Bhagwant Mann along with Aam Aadmi Party Chief Arvind Kejriwal on a Thanksgiving Yatra to celebrate and thank people for Aam Aadmi Party's landslide win in assembly elections. Ahead of the roadshow, Arvind Kejriwal and Bhagwant Mann offered prayers at the Golden Temple and also visited the Jallianwala Bagh Memorial.
16 ਤਰੀਕ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਖੁੱਲਾ ਸੱਦਾ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਨੇ ਟੀਵੀ ਇਸ ਵਕਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਖੁੱਲਾ ਸੱਦਾ ਬਸੰਤੀ ਰੰਗ ਦੀਆਂ ਪੱਗਾਂ ਬੰਨ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਹੈ ਭਗਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੇ ਸੁਪਨਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਆਜ਼ਾਦੀ ਨੂੰ ਘਰ ਘਰ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਸਹੁੰ ਚੁੱਕਣੀ ਹੈ ਸਹੁੰ ਕੱਲੀ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਚੁੱਕਣੀ ਸਹੁੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਚੁੱਕੋਗੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਮੁੱਖ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਬਣੋਗੇ
The oath is scheduled for 16th of March at Khattar Kalan, the native village of freedom fighter Bhagat Singh. Sources say only the Chief Minister will be sworn in on that day. The cabinet will take oath later. But already the Chief Minister designate has taken a few decisions.
122 ਬੰਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਿਕਿਉਰਿਟੀ ਘਟਾਈ ਹੈ 403 ਪੁਲਿਸ ਵਾਲੇ ਵਾਪਸ ਥਾਣਿਆਂ 'ਚ ਚਲੇ ਗਏ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਦਿਨ ਹੀ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਊਗਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਸਰਕਾਰੀ ਦਫ਼ਤਰ 'ਚ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਸਰਕਾਰੀ ਦਫ਼ਤਰ 'ਚ ਮੁੱਖ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਦੀ ਫੋਟੋ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗੂਗੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਆਜ਼ਮ ਭਗਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਤੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਅੰਬੇਦਕਰ ਦੀ ਫੋਟੋ ਲੱਗੂਗੀ
At the roadshow, Arvind Kejriwal reiterated that all the poll promises will be delivered and action will be taken against anyone involved in corruption.
अगर हमारा कोई एमएलए भी अगर इधर उधर करेगा उसको बख्शेंगे नहीं सीधा जेल भेजेंगे जितनी गारंटियां दी हैं सारी गारंटियां पूरी करेंगे एक एक गारंटी पूरी करेंगे
The opposition meanwhile has accused the Aam Aadmi Party of shedding their Aam Aadmi image.
With 92 seats in assembly, no other party in the recent history has got this majority in Punjab as Aam Aadmi Party. And as they say, with great power comes great responsibilities. So all eyes will be on Aam Aadmi Party and its Chief Minister designate Bhagwant Mann, that what major decisions and roadmap is adopted to pull Punjab out of this financial mess. With camera person Ashwini Mehra in Amritsar, Mohammad Ghazali for NDTV.